already anticipated that this could heighten tensions between Manila and Beijing.
Yeah.
And as we heard earlier from the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, they didn't seem too happy with this agreement. How is Canada, how can we expect Canada to support the Philippines diplomatically in times like this?
Yeah, so I mean, Canada has been in support of Philippines. We've been in democratic solidarity with each other for a while. So anytime there's an incident in West Philippine Sea, Canada usually stands with the Philippines and sort of stands with the international law, with UNCLOS, saying that we need to uphold it, that we need to de-escalate. So I think there's already a history of that. So Canada has been doing that and continues to do that. I think with this agreement, that will actually become deeper. And I think we shouldn't give too much weight to what China said in this case, because that's their normal line. That's what they've said every time
It's
the Philippines has done this. You've now
but retaliation against Canada. What kind of retaliation can
I hope that this particular development isn't going to solicit retaliation, in part because we've also turned the page in our relationship with China. You may have seen that our Prime Minister met with President Xi on the margins of APAC. And both declared that this is kind of a new era in the relationship, that they're trying to rebuild relations. So I don't expect a strong reaction to this. In part also, as I mentioned, this has been going on now for a few years. Canada has been very active in supporting Philippines, defending its territorial rights, defending the ruling of 2016 arbitrary awards. So there is a history here of Canadian defense diplomacy in support of rules-based order, in support of international law. So it's not about Canada picking sides, it's about Canada being on the side of international law, because as a middle-sized country, our security and stability depends on that rules-based order.
Can you comment on the approach that the Philippines has taken, you know?
Yes.
Having
Your transparency
all these,
initiative.
alliances,
Yes.
How do you see that strengthening our hand?
Yeah, no, Philippines has taken a really courageous approach. Both your transparency initiative, which kind of brings the world's attention what is happening in West Philippine Sea, kind of the aggressive actions of China in particular. I think that has raised awareness, and that's very good, and it needs to continue. At the same time, obviously, you also need to deepen relations with others for reasons we mentioned, that while U.S. is your treaty ally, it's good to have others invested.
Yes.
So Japan, Australia, of course, now Canada as well. Europeans are here too, New Zealand, France. I think, it shows that maintaining stability, maintaining South China Sea open for commerce, and maintaining sort of that rules-based order here is relevant for everybody. This is not just Philippines' fight, right? So what happens here will have implications for what happens in other spots which have territorial disputes or are contested. I mean, I know it's easy to say that kind of rules-based order is unraveling because of what's happening in the US, what's happening in China, but other countries need to now step up and try to preserve as much of it as possible.
Canada most especially.
Well, I don't know if most especially, but certainly Canada, we need to do our part. And I think that's what the Visiting Forces Agreement is about. That's what our Indo-Pacific strategy is about. That's what the presence of more and more Canadians in the region is about, right? So here in Manila, just as part of our Indo-Pacific strategy, we opened an office on agri-food and agriculture, right? Again, recognizing that this is a Canadian strength. And the region really prioritizes food security and wants to be able to have a lot more for its growing population, right? So I think you'll see a lot more Canadian presence and participation in the region.
So we'll be seeing more of you.
I hope so. I hope so, yes.
But one final question for you, Vina, before we let you go. What effect will this have on Canada and China's relations? We recently saw Canadian Prime Minister meeting with Xi Jinping in the APEC summit.
Yeah. So I think Canada-China relations is complex. It will continue to have its challenges, strategic challenges, but there's also now a recognition on the part of Canada that we need to diversify our trading relationships. Our Prime Minister has set a really ambitious goal of doubling non-US trade in a decade. And China will need to be part of that equation, given that they are a very large economy and a large market. But China also comes with risks, and doing too much or being too dependent on China for any one thing creates strategic vulnerability, and we need to avoid that. And we need to recognize that that kind of a complex relationship is going to have moments of disagreement. We shouldn't self-censor ourselves. We should, as much as possible, maintain agency and collectively work with others who share some of our concerns with respect to the challenges that China is bringing when it comes to international law or when it comes to rules-based order.